Hello, welcome. So, I think this is like week 4 of our shelter in place. Week 4, I think it is. And I have to say, the last few days have been the hardest for me. I'm finding myself doing more boredom eating, finding myself watching more TV, which is not my usual MO. And I'm finding myself feeling a little sorry for myself. In Tibetan Buddhism, the qualities of an enlightened mind or the qualities of awakening are discussed as having two sort of major components: spaciousness or clarity, and then a luminosity, a brilliance, a knowingness. I think I've talked about this in another class. And so as I sort of get myopic in my own little bit of suffering through all of this, I've lost the expanse of spaciousness and clarity of the context of the holding container of it all. I've only focused in on my own little piece of it. So there's like this knowing of my suffering, but have not been able to hold it in a bigger context. The grand scheme of things, the constant unfolding of life, the no beginning, no ending. My own little tiny self-identification of my own little problems feels really big. And it's not. It's not big at all. It's really inconsequential. And when I can move into the space of awareness and include my own little experience of suffering, it really softens it. So, and then there's other people, like I tend to be one of the kind of people that just goes right into the little myopic self-identification. Many of us do that. There's the flip side, when we just sort of get lost in space and just sort of float around, not literally, but aimlessly wander from thing to thing and don't have a real clear knowingness of how we might be avoiding or suffering or bypassing. And so these two qualities of spaciousness, allowing big context of all phenomena, and the emptiness or the lack of intrinsic meaning of all that phenomena, and then the knowingness of our presence in that these two qualities are essential. So I want to use some of this language as we move into our movement practice this morning. We're going to start standing, which I almost never do. So we're going to stay up to work the lower body for the first part. And then we'll get down on the ground to work more upper body for the second part. Basic prop setup. Blanket, couple blocks and a belt. We'll probably use all of them. Maybe not for everyone. So have that step aside and then come to stand. And I invite you in your standing position. You can face the front of your mat. I'm going to face the camera, so if you need the visual. With feet about hip width, you have to fudge that. Internally rotate your legs a little or a lot, depending on your knees and your ankles. The toes don't touch necessarily, although they might. But have your legs close enough together that you can soften the knees, bending the knees, and the inseam of the inner thighs come together. So the angle from the front outer hips is like an arrow tip going down towards the knees. And from the knees, a similar trajectory down and out to the outer heels. So from outer hips to the inner knees and from inner knees to the outer heels. And it sort of puts you in park, wedges you a little bit into yourself. The fronts of the ankles are folded, quite deep flexion there. And hands can come to low belly, pelvic belly. So in the shadow yoga tradition, they call this goat stance. And we're going to leave it in park here for a moment. No pain in the knees. There might be fatigue in the legs, but in theory, one can organize the legs in a way that the propping, bracing against, sort of supports itself, so that this can be a sustainable stance for some minutes. You could put one hand at the back of the pelvis and feel for a levelness between like pubis and sacrum. So maybe feel into a little elevation of pubis, a little descending of sacrum. That might be a simple distinction between like no belly engagement and some belly engagement. Or you might have to go a little deeper. Feel the front of the sacrum diving down like the way you might plunge a shovel into the earth. And then a little sense of a helium balloon tethered to the front of your pelvis. Maybe even a little bit the flesh of the sternum. And invite a lift through the front. And then let the mind, like the brain cells and the observational capacity of the mind, move into the space of your body. And as you become aware of the space of your body, can you then turn that into the space of awareness? And the knowingness, the clarity of being present in that space of awareness. Move the inhales down and wide. Feel the inhales brush into the base of the lungs, widening across the entire expanse of the mid-back, kidneys. Letting the tendrils of the inhale reach all the way down to the tail, and then let the exhale move down through the legs to the feet. With your next exhale, breathing the out breath down through the heels, straightening your legs. Turn your 10 toes forward. Should be a pretty neutral, parallel stance. Take the arms wide and up. Breathe in. Then as you exhale, drop your chin, curl down, roll down, bend through the knees, hips and ankles, touch the floor if you can, grab blocks if needed, and just a little bit of dangle, wiggle, waggle, still imbuing the inner realms with your full capacity for awareness, and then that knowingness of the space of awareness in the body. Soften both knees, come rolling on up. Take the arms all the way up and have a seat, Utkatasana. More weight in the heels. And that same study around the weight of the tail, sacrum, compared to the weight of the pubis. And that knowingness of your ability to go in there and first commit to visiting there with your awareness, then checking out what it's like in there, and then the knowingness to adjust to however it feels most integrated for you. Straighten the legs, raise the arms up, arms down and out, roll down, dangle. While you're down here, turn the toes out. Don't widen the heels any. Toes are about anywhere from 90 degrees apart, maybe a little more. Bend your knees quite a lot, like you're trying to touch your head down, top of head down to the floor. Knees poke out to the sides. cat pose strongly your spine so your tail drips down. And then wrap your arms around your outer shins. And I'm just going to stack one hand on top of the other behind my heels, sort of in the middle. So arms wrapped like a garland around the legs. Stay heavy in the outer feet. Stay lifted in the low belly. And wide through the inner knees, inner thighs, inner ankles. Keep widening the inner legs and gathering the outer legs. It's strong in the thighs for sure. Let's go for another 30 seconds maybe. And as you straighten your legs, bring your hands around to the front. Maybe you're on blocks or tippy fingers. Keep the toes where they are, but kick the heels out. So now feet are parallel, a little wider than your hips. Bend your knees a lot. Bring your torso up, Utkatasana, wide-legged. Balancing the weight, right foot to left foot. Feet to sit bones in that meeting place, right down that mid-seam, midline seam of pelvic floor, tail to pubis, to navel, to breastbone, to like roof of mouth, to like the place between the shoulder blades, to the sacrum. And keep following that loop up through front, down through back. Straighten legs. Arms out and down, hands to hips, turn toes out, bend knees. No pain in the knees, right? Knees are gonna go past the heels. If this feels too challenging to stay integrated in the knees, then widen your stance. I'm just gonna fold my arms in front of me and work the delicate strength, the delicate balance rather, of inner outer thigh strength. Whoo-wee. One more moment here. We're going to straighten the legs, kick the heels back, fold down. And just check in with those moments where the mind gets hot and there's a strong resistance or a strong urge or pull towards or away. Can we broaden that scope and include the space, the clarity of the knowingness, and not let the mind and the response be your only reality. From here, heels stay where they are, turn your toes out. You're probably quite wide now in your horse stance. So torso up. Interlace hands behind head. Exhale, right elbow towards left knee. And then sweep down, head down. Left elbow towards right knee. Pause here though. Keep the right elbow down, unfold the left, so a side bend, and then up and over. I meant to start with left elbow to left knee, and then go right elbow to left knee, and then curl the head down, sweep down, and then left elbow to right knee, and then right elbow to right knee. One more time to the left, pure side bend left, and then wrap right side down, and then curl down, and then left elbow to right knee, and then right elbow to right knee, and then up you come. Straighten your legs. Pause. Still got my toes turned out. Can you squeeze the thigh muscles? And without losing the big toe down, wrap the buttock flesh from the big toe around to the tail. So both legs spiraling open. Sit back down again. Hands interlaced again, other way. Right elbow to right knee. Left elbow to right knee. Sweep down through the middle. Right elbow to left knee. Left elbow to left knee. 2 more times. One more time. Standing up, all 10 toes straight ahead. Pause. And then turning all 10 toes to the right. So on the ball mound of your left foot, my left heel's not on the ground and the feet are hip width. Let's bend into the right knee here for a simple lunge. I'm going to start with hands on hips, inviting the back body to stay wide and the outer hips, especially left one, to wrap forward and down. And simply reaching right knee and left heel away from each other. And continuing to feed some energy back into the center. Let's go to the other side. So if you straighten back leg, you turn the 10 toes around, do a 180. All 10 toes to the left and bend into left knee, but resisting with that right leg. So as left knee goes forward, right leg wants to go back, especially inside line. Like inside line, right leg, inside line, left leg, reaching opposite. Inner right leg back, inner left leg forward. But the outer legs come to the midline. So outer right leg comes forward and outer left leg goes backwards, really putting you right in the middle, squeezing and lengthening on the midline. Turn to the right. Step or hop your feet right together. Swing arms up, big breath in, Utkatasana. Hands to prayer, step or hop your feet wide apart. From here, with soft knees, you have the capacity to really load one leg with all the weight. Because what I'd like to do is go from this wide stance over onto the left foot, right knee comes up. Then step back to the right or over to the right, load the right leg, standing up, right leg, left knee comes up. So right now I'm doing with my arms simply what I need to do to get the balance. Adding on, so this is second time, second side. So there's this inner outer leg balance, stability of the outer leg, agility of the inner. Now hands and release behind head and try to bring the knee up to the chest. Don't round the upper body. So we're adding a little extra lift of the ascending knee, making a lot more contrast between the two legs. You could grab on, interlace both hands on the lifting knee for a little self-assist. In theory, your 10 toes are pointing forward or oriented forward the whole time, in theory. So here we are in this down and wide and then upness. So sort of mirroring with our bodies or embodying the expanse of awareness on the horizon and the clarity of presence, the knowingness on the vertical. Both. One more time. To each side, but this last time, going over to the left, picking up the right, Can you, with hands interlaced behind head, this time a little curling of the upper body to try to bring elbows and knee together. Ho, 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 ho. And then to the second side. And then wide. Stay with soft knees from here. Step or hop. Your feet right together. Hoo-wee. So hopefully you turned to the side of your mat. I wasn't clear about that. My apologies. But let's step to the front now. If you are not there. And staying in your mountain pose. Left hand wraps around to right hip. And then the right hand swings back behind you. And I say hand, but I mean the whole arm, the whole side body, the whole upper body twisting to the right. But with your left hand there on your right hip, can you invite that outer right hip to swing forward? So the hips aren't turning. Hips aren't turning. They're not going with the twist. They're turning against the twist. So they're turning to stay neutral. So it's like outer right hip forward, outer left shoulder forward, reach left arm forward. And then can you make your left foot light and step back into a lunge where the upper body's still twisting. And then simply slicing that left arm down to the outside of that right leg. And then what you want to do with your arms from here is up to you. The transition here is going to be a little sophisticated, and my back will be to the camera. From this revolved lunge, we're going to land in horse stance. So swing left arm up, start to turn left leg out, plant left heel down. Now you're facing like the other way. We're going to keep going to the left. So if you internally rotate back leg, facing the other side of your mat now, step your right leg up and over, eagle legs. You could wrap up the arms too if you like. Right arm under. And when you're ready from here, mountain pose at this new back of your mat. Context, big picture, even if this is a very intense moment, this is certainly not the most intense part of your day, just guessing. Watching the news or something else might be the most intense part of your day. Right hand over to left hip. So the gesture of the upper right torso coming forward and the lower left torso coming forward as you take upper left torso back. So this contrast, left hand going back, outer left hip going forward. Right shoulder going forward, left arm back, right arm forward, left hip forward. Pick up your right foot, step back into a twisty lunge. So I love the length that I feel from right foot to right arm. When you're ready, take it down into whatever version of a revolved lunge that turns you on. And remember, we've got our funky transition. We'll end up facing the space behind us right now. So when you're ready, sweep left arm down and forward, right arm up. Pull that right heel under. Left toes go a little forward as you come back to your horse stance. And then keep turning to the right. Right toes point to that end of your mat and step your left leg up and over. Eagle legs. could do left arm under. And then mountain pose. From here, if you wish, reach up, heart up, face up, arms up, and swan dive forward. Woo, step, step. How about a down dog? I don't think we've done one of those yet. Let's do a down dog. Really broad across the upper back. Really spread that upper back flesh. And try to hollow the armpits, the very center, the bullseye of the armpit, hollow it up and wrap the outer arm towards the pinkies. Really make the pinkies heavy and still committing to a firm index fingerprint and thumbprint, both inner and outer hand. Swing forward plank, pause and plank. Baby elbow bend, heart forward, keep heart forward, straighten your elbows. Baby elbow bend, heart forward, keep your heart forward, straighten your elbows. Back to down dog. Back to down dog. Stay in down dog. Bend the elbows and point them back towards your feet. The elbow bend is somewhere between the floor and your straight arm, so it's like halfway. And then bring your knees down so they barely touch, like the fabric, the frayed fibers of the fabric touch the mat, but no weight bearing. From here, spring forward chaturanga, all the way to belly down, and reach the toe tips back. Draw the shoulders and elbows back. Heart forward in opposition to toes. Nose forward in opposition to elbows and shoulder blades. If you can, keep this exact shape. Legs so straight. When you push with your hands, it puts more weight back in the legs. Maybe an up dog. It's a down dog. Bring your knees down. I'm going to turn sideways. You can, don't have to. Step your right foot out to the right in line with your left knee. So square shape between left thigh, right shin, and the floor. Right elbow to right knee, and roll that left shoulder back. In fact, can you tuck left hand to the inner right thigh? Did a little bit of this work yesterday. If you can't get the hand down there, just grab your pants or your shirt or something behind you. Wrap your left arm around as far as it can go. Grab on. And then the right hand can dive down towards the right ankle. Look down towards the right foot. And be with the space of awareness. You can move through right to left. Right foot pushes a little. That'll turn up the volume and the feedback you're getting on your outer left hip and side waist. Eventually you might feel the call, I feel it, to release the left arm and sweep it all the way up and over. Keep swinging right ribs under and rolling left ribs back and over. From here, windmill torso up. Keep going to the left. Put left hand on the floor in line with left knee, right foot. But then swing the right heel to the right. So you're on the sole of that right foot, warrior foot. Little variation on side plank. Step your left ankle up and cross it over your right. And really squeeze the outer feet into each other. Shoot the right arm up. push the floor down, spread the back and the front. And then from here, if you replace left knee where it was, torso up, right knee comes under you, and left foot to the left. Slide that right hand behind you and either catch the back of your pants or your shirt, or try to creep those fingertips up and over that left thigh bone. Let's start with left elbow on knee, and be with the side to side space. So can you be aware of the space to either side of you, and let that awareness of space turn into the space of awareness. And in that space of awareness, this knowingness of the feelings, the consequences of your choice making, when you feel clear to swing the arm up and over, make that knowing conscious choice, the clarity of presence in the space of awareness, and all the other factors, timeless, ineffable expanse of all of creation. When you're ready, right arm up and over to the right, swing left heel out to the left, and cross that right ankle in front of the left. Left arm up. So from here, can you step right foot sort of behind you and left hand down to come to plank? And then back through your flow, you're facing the back of your mat. And back to the down dog. From your down dog, simply reach your right foot back so you can still see it. Toes are at about eye level. And emphasize the big toe print. Like if you could use your x-ray vision and see through the big toenail to the big toe print. And like you're going to smear the big toe print up the wall behind you and plug that big toe print onto the ceiling. You can lift the left heel. You keep trying to let the big toe print press into the furthest surface away you could imagine. And that's going to lift the whole pelvis, bladder, inner left leg, left heel, higher, higher, higher. And to switch, you could come to plank into your flow if you wish, or simply land in down dog. And when you're ready, left big toe print takes the lead. How much spread between your two big toe prints can you find? So inner right leg lengthening down into the floor, inner left leg lengthening up to the sky. The outer legs are drawing towards the outer hips and narrowing the hips. Left leg down, plank, chaturanga if you wish it, and up. Bringing my knees down, grabbing block, blanket, and belt. So take your blanket and either roll it up or just fold it up so it's in a chunky, long, rectangular roll or bulky fold. And then, so left shin, upper left shin is going to go on that blanket. Take the block and kick it on the diagonal on its tall side. So if you start with it on its tall side and then kick it back towards your thigh and put the tall side face of that block right up against your thigh bone. I'm going to have my right shin vertical. And then can you thread the belt underneath your pelvis and put it on that left thigh. So the belt's just in one long piece. It's a holding on to both sides of the belt with your two hands, bracing it against the front of your left thigh. Start to slide the arms back, holding onto the belt. So the hands are pulling the belt back against that left thigh. Shoulders in extension here. The belt's providing resistance for the shoulders to work. Backs of the arms to strengthen. And it's also providing feedback along with the block for that left thigh to keep going back in space as you reach your knee and your heart forward and up. Breastbone forward and up. Front teeth up. Bridge of nose up. And then keep the belt threaded through your hands so you can hold on to it behind you. Elbows bent close to the side of the head, and pull the belt up with your bent elbows and use that to help stabilize all the upness. One or two more breaths. And in theory, you can let go of the belt, plant your hands, tuck your left toes, and step your right leg back to a down dog. And just deal with the consequences of your choice making. And if there's some tendency to double talk yourself, that's just layering more smallness over smallness. Right knee comes down onto the blanket roll. Left foot steps forward. Untangle your block. Thigh bone resting really lovingly, really sweetly on the face of that block. Left shin vertical. And then thread the length of the belt under your pelvis, catching the front of your right thigh. Sliding hands back along the belt to whatever degree you can, and pull the belt back against the thigh, and draw the navel back against your spine. Big toe of the right foot is trying to be the longest, even if it's not actually the longest. It's trying. And then sliding the belt through the hands as you go from internal rotation to external, and the arms go up, bend the elbows, hug them against the side of the face, and try to pull the belt up against that thigh. Hug the navel back, reach the face up for 3 more breaths. Lose the belt, plant hands, step back. And then bring your 2 knees down onto the blanket roll. And just have a seat on your heels. Have your 2 blocks on their tall side, back by your heels. And then with your belt again, make a loop. And make the loop big enough so that if you brought the whole loop behind you and put both straps of the belt at your pelvis. I'll turn a little so you can see. So with your thumbs in the belt, it's like holster style. Right? Wild West holster style. So this is like a sling or a hammock for the sacrum and the pelvis. And so can you soften your low belly back into that hammock? Wide back, deep front. And so as you pull the belt forward with your hands, hollow the belly back. And from that hollowing back, draw up. And simply reach your face up. You don't have to go back with anything. Go up. Go back with your belly, but go up with everything else. And the arms are trying to pull the hips forward. And soften the belly back into it. Come on back to neutral. Bring the double belt higher up so it catches mid-ribs and upper lumbar. Same deal. Try to reach the fingers forward. Feel the belt pull against your back. And soften back body into belt. Soften your front ribs into your back ribs. Pretend you've got the first belt around your pelvis. Soften navel back towards sacrum. And then all that deep front softening slides up and is supported by the width. It's cradled by the width of the back. Face up, front teeth up. Bridge of nose up. Don't go back, go up. And it might be that you can sustain this, lose the belt. Those blocks are right there. Can you find the blocks with your hands? Take your heart up. Keep wrapping the back of the pelvis wide. Keep deepening the navel back. Push with your feet into the floor. Come on up. Hands in prayer. Tuck your 10 toes under. Have a seat. Down dog might be fun or necessary here. So I'm going to set my blocks aside, lose the belt, plant the hands. In fact, I'm going to do both dogs. Can you sustain wide back, deep front in your plank? Can you sustain wide back, deep front in your chaturanga and your up dog? Camel, once again, you could use the blanket roll under your shins. It just makes the pose not quite as deep. I'm going to lose the blanket. You could keep the blocks. Also, you could do just what we did. Use the belt if it helped you. Otherwise, hands on hips, 10 toes straight back, big toes trying to be the longest. Soften the front of you back and back and back. And then through that central channel of softness, slide it up. Reach your face up. And as the hips go forward, the belly goes back. And you don't even have to put hands on heels. You can keep hands on hips unless the heels are within reach, right? But even if you grab the heels, don't push the belly forward. Belly hollows back. Hips go forward. Outer hips. Side ribs. Feet push down and that strength in the central column pulls you up. Down dog. Maybe both dogs. Stay in your down dog. You've got two choices here. If your knees do not like you to fully flex them and sit down in between them, if your knees don't like the virasana, then come to your belly and you'll do Sphinx thigh stretcher, right? You could even do head on arm thigh stretcher. But otherwise, Ekapada Supta Virasana. So you could, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see, I'm going to stretch the left thigh first. You could sit on a block. See, I've even got it on its second side or flat side. And with that left heel tucked right up against the block, you could simply walk your hands back and do this kind of thing. Keeping the left knee or the lengthening side leg hugged in, both legs hugged in to the midline. But you keep chin tucked because that's that spinal flexion hip extension combo that's very potent for the front leg of the lengthening leg. Now there is an advanced way to work with the block too. If you can get your elbows down and get your shoulders down, keeping the block great. So the block can be a support for not super open quads, or it can be an extra like generator to further open already open quads. And so that distinction is if you go all the way back with the block under your butt. I vote you could go all the way back without the block first. But some of you I know got good chops and you're like, oh, I got this. So I'm choosing to keep my hips on the block. Seriously, lose the block. It makes it so much more digestible for some people. If that left thigh, the lengthening leg thigh, if that knee pops up off the floor, I'm not too worried about it as long as there's no knee pain. You can pull the foot towards your head some to get the knee to reach more to the floor, or simply reach the knee more to the floor. Doesn't have to be on the floor. And those of you with a lot of range of movement, if you can stay in the space of awareness and let the whole intention be held here, not just this moment, this shape, this idea of it being something important or it has to look a certain way, right? So short stories, if it's not ego, if it's not I want to get more, better, faster, but it's just a natural response to refine your experience, some of you might be able to pull that right knee in. Because it's a natural continuation of your engaging, not because it's better to do or more important. Or even more advanced, right? Advanced practitioners really love beginner poses. Beginning practitioners really love advanced poses. Generally speaking, let's change sides, okay? So whatever you need to do in between. So it could be a down dog, it could simply be sitting or laying. Some of you guys were belly down already. So belly down being the more troubled knee option in theory. This being another variable for not only troubled knees, but really tight quads. I'm going to adjust my knee flesh because of my right knee tells me to. If you're using the block under your pelvis and you're only going part way back, keep your chin tucked in. Dive your navel back and keep that right thigh hugged in. If you're not using the block and it's easy for you to go back, go all the way back. Or for those of you who are combining block use with going all the way back, it is rather intense. So holding the intensity is part of the whole experience. So also in the space of awareness, there is quiet, there is calm, there is ease, there is love, there is patience, there is kindness, there is understanding. And also in the space of awareness, there's intensity. There might be discomfort. There might be impatience. So balancing the all-pervasive space, indestructible, clarity of space, with the knowingness of your experience and the knowingness of the temporality of your experience. And the small story of the experience held in the bigger context. you guys ready? You guys ready to come out? So however you can get out of there. And then probably a down dog, maybe both dogs. Maybe both dogs. And I'd like to do a pose called Pariyankasana. So if you got your 2 blocks, lay them end to end, flat side on your mat, and take that folded blanket thing that you made. Put it right on top. Now you have the option to go straight legs here. And the idea is that your butt and the top of your head get to the floor. So if you land with your elbows on the prop, somewhere around kidney band, and then take a big heave up of the heart, and then inviting the head to come back to the floor. So you could do a few things here. If this proves to be too much, unfold the blanket some, right? Just use the blocks, or just use the blanket. You could use the blocks and put the blanket under your head, right? So ideally, wherever you are, the head and the butt both touch the floor. You could do hands interlaced behind head and support in this way. Those of you who've got the knees for it and the thighs for it, you come to full virasana. And the same deal, up and over you go. I'm a little high up. Pariyankasana, Vishnu's couch. So chilling back on the couch in the cosmic ocean. In the primordial space of all time and expanse, with clear knowing of your little part in it. Your exit strategy is pretty much reversing the steps of how you came up. So if you can, dig your elbows into the support behind you and shove it back with your elbows and simply pull yourself up. Hands and knees. Sort of push the gear off the mat, out of the way. A couple of cat-cows. Down dog. In your down dog, take your feet as wide as your sticky mat. Lift your heels way up. Take the tail way up. Push the floor away. Big breath in. As you press your thigh bones back towards the wall behind you, let that lower the heels, but it's like you're trying to grow a shoe size. Take your heels back, feet back, thigh bones back, tail back, lengthen the spine. Walk your hands back, keep your feet wide. If you need your blocks, grab them. And can you take both hands towards the right? So if I turn to face the camera, trying to keep your legs and hips in the middle. The right hand steps way to the right, and left hand can grab that right ankle. Send the hips to the left. You could bend your knees. I got straight legs. So pull with left hand and reaching with the right hand. And draw the hips to the left, to the left, to the left. Freeing the left side of your lumbar, in theory. Soften both knees, torso dangles in the middle. You could look forward. I call it the front line Manasana, 10 hut. And then re-straighten the legs. Both hands walk to the left, but hips stay in the middle. So that means you got to push them to the right a little. Right hand catches outer left ankle. Pull with your right hand, sort of reach with your left. And then let the hips favor the right. Hips are biased to the right. The arms are biased to the left. And if you can stay in that space of awareness, you can be impartial and actually encourage whichever side sort of needs a little more help. So you're on the side of balance. And then back to the center. Walk your hands forward, down dog. And then bring your knees down, child's pose. Child's pose. And in your child's pose, feel free to wobble right to left. Let the forehead roll right to left. And you can certainly stay in your child's pose. Or now would be the time to morph yourself into Shavasana. You've got your blanket roll that you could use to put behind your knees or behind your neck. Feel all the prana particles settle like snow globe asana. And let your mind move into the space of your body, being aware of your internal space. And invite that switch where you go from being aware of space into the space of awareness. And if you can drop that very gentle anchor of a knowingness of yourself in the space of awareness. So holding both context and contents. May you rest easy. Thank you. I love you.